This 1974 board game arrived just in time to distract U.S. consumers from the first worldwide oil embargo and resulting economic shock that followed. Published by Milton Bradley, the game is known for its mechanical 3D board that uses rotating discs to randomize the location and depth of oil in a simulated oil field. Players abandon dice for action cards and this hidden mechanical clockwork. Success hinges on precise risk management and resource allocation, where players must deduce the underground oil patterns to outdrill and bankrupt their rivals. This is King Oil. On the surface, it's a game about buying land and drilling. The wildcatters who stay solvent longer than his opponent wins. But the game's brilliance is hidden inside a mechanism that accidentally models one of the most important aviation safety theories ever invented. James reasons the Swiss cheese model of aviation safety. In this video, I'm going to unpack King Oil's hidden secrets. Under the property map are 3 stacked perforated rotating discs representing oil deposit depths. Each disc has 7 concentric rings bisected by 48 spokes, providing 336 nodes representing potential drilling locations. This number is further reduced by the available drilling holes in the property map, as we'll see later. At each node, there is either a hole indicating no oil or a solid stop indicating oil is present. Discs only clock in intervals of every 4th spoke due to 12 alignment catches on the edge of each disc. With 3 discs and 12 positions each, there are 12 cubed or 1,728 possible oil field setups. Before each game, the discs are randomly clocked, determining exactly where the oil exists and how deep you must drill to find it. When you drill with the derrick-shaped depth gauge, a pin drops through the discs. Where it stops determines if you found oil and at what depth. If the gauge falls all the way through, the well is dry. The deeper it stops, the more expensive the well. This mechanism is accidentally brilliant. It mirrors the Swiss cheese model used in aviation safety for understanding hazards. If a hazard, or in this case the pin, passes through the holes in every layer, a failure has occurred. In aviation, an accident. In King Oil, a dry well. We have 3 layers of cheese in our King Oil game. Let's take a detailed look at the top disc. Here, a spoiler alert is in order, as the distribution of the oil is not completely random. Thanks to a teardown by Julius Howlett, we can map these stops onto a 7x48 grid, which will serve as our analytic lens for the rest of this study. Rows are numbered 1 to 7 from outside in. I've mapped the top disc at an arbitrary position, marking yellow squares for each stop. There are 43 stops in total for this disc, just under 13% of possible nodes. Now, let's also set the remaining 2 discs at an arbitrary start position and analyze that oil field. Looking at the discs together, patterns emerge. Oil becomes more likely the deeper you drill, yet oil is consistently scarcer in the 4th or middle ring. Stacking the disc matrices reveals the combined location and depths. In this configuration, there are 146 possible oil stops. The scarcity at row 4 is again evident in the aggregate view, but we still have to consider the constraints of the surface property map. Here is the row and spoke configuration with 4 spoke groupings for visual reference. I've color-coded the available boreholes as they map to our 7x48 matrix, working clockwise from the 6 o'clock position. Players can only drill where the surface map allows. When we overlay those surface holes onto the oil field map, the number of accessible productive wells collapses to only 83. The middle ring has very few accessible deposits, and the inner ring is likewise now depleted. Finally, here is the property map with production wells highlighted by their depth color code. Remember, this is just an arbitrary disc clocking, but if you look closely, you may see some of the patterns discussed. Let's choose 2 properties and look at them in detail to compute a player's possible return on investment, or ROI. Suppose a player bought property 1. The property cost is $1,000 per hole. The well cost is an incremental $2,000 per oil depth level with a $2,000 minimum to drill. Using an arbitrary total production revenue of $16,000 per well, meaning a player would gain an average $16,000 revenue over the entire course of the game for each production well. Property 1 has a $12,000 buy-in. Assuming the player drills every hole, we find 0 shallow wells, 4 medium depth wells, and 2 deep wells, totaling $64,000 in drilling costs. With 6 producing wells at $16,000 each, the ROI is $20,000. Property 18 has half as many more producing wells, a slightly lower drilling cost, but the increased production volume nearly quadruples the ROI compared to Property 1. Let's plug this into an automated dashboard, as one does, to generate a King Oil ROI calculator for any combination of disk positions. At this start position, Property 18 yields the greatest potential ROI, while Property 1 is below average. What about other disk positions? What about all possible 1,728 positions? Here I generated the sum of all property ROIs for a $16,000 well value revenue. There is an average ROI of 18.2 across all disk positions. Here is the break-even point at 0 ROI. Finally, here are the properties ranked 1 to 18. Property 1 ranks 5th with an average ROI of $24,000. But Property 14 is the winner at $42,000 ROI, benefiting from the lack of boreholes in that dead zone middle ring. Property 13 is the worst with an ROI of just $2,000. Nearly 40% of its holes lead directly to that scarce middle ring.